Say we've gotten to this point in the design of our scissor lift, and we manufacture some parts, and we find that the ability to put the axle into the small block and also into the leg is difficult. And so maybe we need to change the diameter of the hole there in the small block. How might we do that? One way to do that is to go to our original part studio and duplicate it. I've already done this once, so I'm going to keep things organized here. This is Rev 2 for me. Yours will be, if you decide to name it Rev 1 probably, or just leave it copy 1. Now at this point, what I want to do is introduce a variable that I can define, that is the diameter of the hole here in the leg and also the small block, and I want to be able to change that. So what I can do is come over here to this pull down and come down here to variable, and I can name something called axle, A-X-L-E, I'm going to say diameter. Let's spell it out. And say instead of, I think we did 3/16 for this one earlier, say I want instead something like 0.265. So I've determined that my dowel, which is going to represent my axle down here, is 0.265. So I'm going to define that variable, and you'll see it's right over here in the feature list. Now to use that, I have to have it before anything I use it in. So I'm going to take it to the very top, right there. And now what I can do is say click on the leg there, and it takes me to this extrude, and I got this sketch. So what I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to rename this extrude to leg, and I know that's an extrusion because of the little symbol next to it, and I'm going to rename the sketch to leg. Okay, now if I want to change the diameter of the holes in the leg, I would change, actually the way I did it, I would change the diameter on the hole here. So on the leg I put points down and then use the hole tool. So for the hole I'm going to rename this to leg, and also this one, okay, how about leg holes? That's the sketch to define the leg holes, and I guess I'll call it the same thing even though the icon next to it tells us it's for holes. At any rate, I'm going to come in here and double click on it, and I can edit it. Instead of that number, I'm going to just type A. So it's going to take up look for any variable I can use or function that starts with an A, and here's my axle diameter. So if I click it there and accept it, you can see they've all changed here. Boom. And now, if I want to do it to the small block, I can come here and I can just click on it, the small block right here, then it lights up over here. So I can rename this small block, and then the sketch for it is that the sketch for it? Yeah, but this is the sketch for the hole. So I'm going to rename that to small block hole for that sketch, and then here, oh yeah, so there it is, small block hole. And I'm going to double click on it and put an A in there and take axle diameter. Now that got bigger, so those fit. Now since I only have only one dowel I use, I want my connecting rod to also be that diameter. So how can I do that? Well, let me click on this one. This is the syringe block, and then you can kind of hover and kind of see what's what. And if I'm not mistaken, let's see, this is the syringe block, and the sketch here is, I'm going to call it syringe block holes, even though it's not the hole tool, but that's the sketch. And if I double click on it, you can see that this is where the hole is defined right here. So instead of the 3/8 I already made in that sketch, again I just made it differently. I didn't use the hole tool, I used a circle tool and then extruded, but I can still find that dimension, put it in there, I type an A and there it pops. Then I can accept that, and you'll notice what happens is that since I made the subsequent parts, the connecting rod and the center block, after I made this and I used the geometry of this guy, everything changed. So the center block here, its features changed, and yeah, so there's a cascade of changes when I use this design method. So now I think I've got all the holes that are associated with any of the dowels, the axle and the connecting rod, which are just a dowel I'm going to buy, And I've got the diameter defined up here, so I can change it to another thing. Say I want to get crazy and make it 0.1 really small. What's that going to look like? Well, you can see they all got really small. And the parts here, the two blocks, also changed automatically. So let's put them back to 0.265. And they're the right size. And so that's a way you can go in and change the hole. Now we could have defined this variable at the beginning. That probably would have been the thing to do, but this just shows that you can go back and using this variable and using some of the techniques of design we used of so-called top-down design, where you use existing geometry to define parts, you can make modifications this way. So we might have to make this modification, so you should know how to do it. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time.